who was also a bishop, at church services. Peter Ball, who is 83, was jailed at the Old Bailey last year for a string of sex offences against young men. Clinton Rogers reports.
We were trained.
Identical twins, it's always been hard to tell them apart. The disgraced former Bishop of Gloucester is on the right. The question is, how many times did he stand in for his brother at services or public events in Truro, where Michael was bishop? And were congregations aware who was standing in front of them?
I didn't know there was a right or wrong.
Well, today we spoke to Michael Ball at his home in a village near Langport. When your brother was officiating in Truro, would the congregation have known it was him, or might they have thought it was you?
I'm quite certain they would have known it was he, because he would have told them. He would not have pretended to be me.
Peter Ball was forced to resign as Bishop of Gloucester after being cautioned for gross indecency back in 1993. Well, now the church accepts there is some evidence that he did appear at a number of events, a number of churches in Cornwall in the 90s. They don't know how many.
There isn't any clear evidence that it was the diocese who gave him permission, but there are still some issues around whether perhaps it was the Archbishop of Canterbury, or, and in a sense it could only have been further up the line, as it were, so it would have been the Archbishop of Canterbury or somebody like that that would have given him permission.
Peter Ball was jailed for 32 months at the Old Bailey last year after admitting abusing teenagers and young men. The church has launched an inquiry into how it handled the case of Bishop Peter, and this latest confusion will doubtless come under scrutiny. Clinton Rogers, BBC Points West.
There was a demonstration outside the Guildhall in Bath today by campaigners angry at plans to build a park and ride to the east of the city. Those behind the scheme say it's the solution to increasing traffic in the area, but protesters say it won't do anything to ease congestion. Today the Guildhall has been dominated by the debate, as Scott Ellis reports.
Congestion and pollution so bad in the east of Bath, there are plans for a new park and ride near Bathampton. But opponents say it'll ruin views and attract more cars polluting local villages. Besides, they say Bath doesn't need a fourth park and ride.
This morning at 9:20, there were 1,700 spare spaces in the 3 park and rides, which suggests that the commuters are not using the park and rides and the spaces that are already available across Bath.
The council says empty spaces don't mean park and rides aren't popular. It's more they've been made big enough to cope with future growth. Today's talking session was all about what can be done to the east of Bath. Here's some ideas from along the busy London road.
I'd really like to see a cycle track along some of the main roads. I think that would encourage cyclists.
Public transport should be cheaper because it's expensive to get a bus.
We are from Latvia, yeah, we do the same what they done in one of the cities in Latvia, what is called Jurmala. Yeah, they just asked to pay the money to get inside the city.
Most of those ideas are being discussed, even a low emissions zone where diesel cars and lorries would be taxed.
We need to shorten people's car journeys.
This professor from UWE gave a speech today against one large park and ride, rather lots of little ones further afield.
Some smaller sites located out in the rural areas, to me, make much more sense in terms of providing people with the possibility to get onto the bus network early without having to have a big car park on the edge of Bath and a lot more buses running around the city here.
Everyone agrees a single park and ride won't solve the problem on its own. Better rail services are needed too. Eventually, though, the talking will have to stop and some tough decisions will have to be made. Well, the debate about traffic will continue at the Guildhall in the coming months. The problem is 28,000 people come into Bath every single day, 70% of those by car. Very soon, decisions will have to be made about how to tempt some of those off the road. Scott Ellis, BBC Points West, Bath.